Lee. 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 Lee!
What?
There's a pandemic going on in the world and we need you to make entertainment online now!
Okay.
Quickly!
Let's do this. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Wait right there.
Okay.
What's your favourite colour, baby? I'm ready. Oh, chair in the doorway. Hello and welcome to another episode of Co-Video Breakdown. My name is Lee Christian and this is your co-host
Grace Williams!
And we have an awesome, exciting show today because our special guest is Vernon Reid from Living Colour, guitar legend, and the reason that I even got into bands in the first place. So I'm super excited about that, and the show will have a little bit of a Living Colour Vernon Reid theme running through it. But also, what else have we got, Grace?
We've got so much music again. We've got regular Fong DZ, he's back. And we've also got Adam George is back to talk about last Boy Scout.
Awesome.
And Desert Storm are back with a...
cooking up a Desert Storm.
Yeah. And you've got us again. Here we are.
Yeah, so, potentially the penultimate show. So, hope you enjoy it, guys. And to start things off, as usual, here is our slightly Living Colour themed Corona update. I always thought that my immunity was good. I stayed in shape and exercised and always ate good food. Now something's different. I can't seem to shake this cough. Whenever I want to go out, I always get told off. Oh no. Not this again. COVID rears up its ugly head.
And when I lock down, no one comes round or calls, and as a result, my social standing falls. My friends are anxious, they don't want to catch this thing. So I work from home and have Zoom meetings. Oh no, please, not Zoom again. COVID rears up its ugly head.
Well, bed's not so bad, they say. But you never know when COVID's gonna go. Does anybody ever really know? Check this out.
Well, I'm standing in the doorway and they're doing the Thursday clap.
Funny vibe!
I'm in my old pyjamas and I'm feeling pretty crap. My hair's as unkempt as it's ever gonna get. I'm awake in this nightmare in a pool of sweat.
Oh no, 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 no. Not that again. Oh, please, I'm not going out. I'm not going out when COVID rears up its ugly head.
No, not me. No, 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 not me. COVID rears its ugly head. COVID rears its ugly, ugly, ugly head. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do when it comes and infects you?
And as usual, here's the awesome Vincent Vega on the decks whilst you find out what's coming up in tomorrow's show.
This week's.
Take it away, Vincent Vega. Wiki wiki wow wow.
Thanks very much, Vincent Vega! What's coming up next, Lee?
Next up, we've got some music. You might know, if you know your underground music, you might know the Scaramanaga Six, who have a great legendary reputation in the underground scene for awesome shows and great songs. Many, many albums under their belt. We have two of their members who are brothers in a Cain and Abel style battle today for you to win your approval. Leave your comments below as to who's the better brother. Mum, you don't get involved. It'll probably cause a lot of problems. Not my mum, their mum. Anyway, here is Paul. Take it away, Paul.
unassuming road. In a mediocre town, I would settle down. I settled down to sweet obscurity. I just want a quiet life, striving for a simple trade, away from prying eyes, my dream to realize this midnight pharmacy. Oh, the midnight, oh, the midnight, oh, the midnight pharmacy. Who would have thought that this stuff happens? Cars parked across the road, speed away when we approach. I can't tell you what we're running from. Run away and start fresh. Make good use of all my training and disappear where we can't be found in a fragile privacy. I lived 1,000 lives. I died 1,000 times for the midnight pharmacy.
Awesome, wicked. Thanks.
Check out those pipes.
Yeah.
What are we doing now, Lee?
We're doing a book review.
Yay!
Yay!
No, you love it.
Yeah, and you can't get enough of that reading stuff. It's very sunny at the moment, so it's good to have good things to read. I've been reading an awesome book which I picked up from Bristol, and it's the biography of Tricky, and this one was signed by the author as well, which is cool. So yeah, anyway, Tricky, for those who don't know, is a Bristol-based maverick pioneer of the trip-hop scene, and yeah, an amazing artist, uncompromising, completely original, and unlike most other musics you've ever heard, hugely influential. This book is really great. He's really straightforward and frank, and I guess the phrase would be doesn't suffer fools gladly and stuff, and yeah, also just doesn't go really in for the showbiz bits, so it's really interesting to see his perspective on his various interactions as he got more and more famous and was celebrated amongst everybody pretty much in the cool scene of the 90s especially. And the book also dips in and out with other people from his story, giving you a couple of paragraphs to do with their way that they are involved in his story. Awesome people such as Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction and Lollapalooza, Porno for Pyros, and Terry Hall from The Specials, and some of his management and his label people like Island Supremo Chris Blackwell. Total really sail through read, so yeah, get that and enjoy.
So I've been reading a story about a young boy who's born in Hawaii, and then he moves with his mum to Indonesia because he gets an Indonesian stepdad because his original father goes away. And when he goes to live in Indonesia, he lives on a house with an alligator and an orangutan and lots of other creatures, a nice dog as well. But then Indonesia doesn't really work out, so he flies back to Hawaii, where he spends some time with his dad, and he gets some friends in college, and they all discuss their identity because this guy is mixed race, so he doesn't know where he fits in, what he wants to do. He sometimes has some recreational drug use and goes to some parties and plays some basketball, and that guy is Barack Obama.
Wow.
Right? I know, this originally published in 2004. This is Barack Obama's Dreams from My Father, which was written before he was a politician, really. It reads like a work of fiction. Some might say that it is. I think he's great, and it's a really good read. It's really interesting. It delves into a lot of important topics which are especially relevant currently, and he writes really, really vividly. Good little bit for today's show. And yeah, I highly recommend that you get it. Good book. Yeah, what else have you been reading?
Yeah, I wanted to recommend a comic which is very dear to my heart. I've just started this actually in terms of the special edition, which is a new edition of The Crow, which is James O'Barr's classic. It's basically where I grew up reading comics, in terms of I'd been a huge Marvel fan, a little bit of a Batman fan and everything. Been interested in some dark subject matter and tales and twists and turns and stuff, but nothing really could prepare me for The Crow. The story of Eric Draven, a musician whose girlfriend is killed, and he is also killed with her, and then he comes back for revenge by way of a mystic crow that resurrects the dead if they have unfinished business. And yeah, it's an absolutely amazing book. Here you can do some pictures, show the inside. It's really quite dark, and I wasn't really ready for anything like this. There's substance abuse and very depressing stuff. It was written to a soundtrack of stuff like this, the Stooges, Joy Division, The Cure, and similarly nihilistic, dark and gothic sources. So it's really, really lush. This version, he's gone back and put some stuff in that he feels he either didn't have the ability to when he was younger, or couldn't bring himself emotionally to. So it's the final vision, which has just been released. But in any form, it's an absolutely amazing book. There's a couple of the originals for you as well. I have this in several formats, but this is what I have right here with me. So yeah, check out James O'Barr's The Crow. It's an absolute classic. You might know the film with Brandon Lee, which is a really great film. Alex Proyas made movie, and with another amazing soundtrack. Both the Crow movie soundtracks are absolutely amazing, featuring all sorts of great bands, including Rage Against the Machine, Rollins Band, Stone Temple Pilots, Nine Inch Nails, and much, much more. Just go and get it. Get. Buy, read, watch. What about you, Grace?
I've read some graphic novels too, Lee. Shadowland.
Awesome.
By Diggletan and Cassidy. Shadowland, as you might have guessed from our rendition of the Daredevil theme, it's about Daredevil, and he's taken over the hand. It was passed over to him with the purpose of him turning them to the side of good, but actually Daredevil's become a bit corrupt by leading the hand. He's got a new awesome black costume, and he's basically taken over Hell's Kitchen, and he's become a bit murderous, and all his buddies like Luke Cage and Spider-Man and Iron Fist, and they just want to help him out really, and the Kingpin's being a real baddie as usual. But yeah, very good, yeah, read it, and that's got a bit of Misty Knight and Colleen Wing. It sort of
Blood in
runs
the Streets.
alongside.
Okay, so next up, keeping with the reviews, we're going to go over to sunny LA to see Adam George, one Adam George, as we like to call him.
Yeah.
He's a filmmaker, actor with lots of cool stuff. If you're in America, go on Amazon. At the moment, you can see a couple of films that he's involved with, Canal Street and the awesomely titled
Pterodactyl.
Yes.
Yeah.
So go and check those out. Here he comes along with a review of one of the most awesome classic movies ever that doesn't get anywhere near enough praise. Last Boy Scout. Take it away, Adam George.
Hello, how's it going? This is Adam George from California. I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about Last Boy Scout, starring Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans. We only got one of these, which is a shame because this movie is detective, former Secret Service agent who got kicked out of the Secret Service because he protected somebody who was being abused by his senator, I think it was, that he was protecting. Pro football player, best arm in the National League, was kicked out because of a drug addiction that was brought on by an injury he sustained in the game. So it's that story. And they end up together because he is dating Halle Berry, and he was hired to protect Halle Berry because Halle Berry is in danger because she's trying to blackmail the owner of the football team that he used to be on to try to get him his job back. And she's killed. I don't know, spoiler. It's whatever. It's not a new movie, so I'm not gonna honor any spoilers. 1991, amazing action movie. It still had the chaos of the 80s and that 80 feel, but it was a good transition going from the 80s into the 90s, and how movies were kind of changing, how action films were changing then. There was still some gratuitous titties here and there, and not a lot, a little bit, and profanity and ridiculous violence, but also the story was kind of strong, and it really pulled you in. Written by Shane Black, directed by the late Tony Scott. Shane Black is he invented Lethal Weapon, so there's that. In Lethal, so he's in Predator. He's the guy in Predator, the original Arnold Schwarzenegger Predator, with the glasses, the skinny dude with the glasses. He directed Iron Man 3, he directed Nice Guys, really good movie. What else? Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He's Shane Black. He's kind of like he's the definition of these kind of films and that kind of feel. It's like it's a Shane Black movie. He might not be world renowned. Maybe he is. I don't know. Whatever. But Shane Black. Tony Scott. Tony Scott passed away a couple years ago. But Tony Scott. Amazing director, Unstoppable, Taking It Pelham 1, 2, 3, Deja Vu, Domino, Joel Silver. I'll give you some Joel Silver if it makes you feel better about your life. Joel Silver, old school. He produced Die Hard, which is why. So he produced Lethal Weapon 2, Die Hard 2, Predator 2, Hudson Hawk. He did a lot of stuff with Bruce Willis before this, and I think that kind of leads into the crux of what the problem is, why we didn't get more. We should have got more. Even when this ends, it ends with that feel of like, oh, okay, these guys are going to go on more adventures. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. But that didn't happen, obviously. It's been 30 years, right? Is that 30 years? 91, 2001, 2011? Almost. It's been 30 years almost. So, we're obviously never going to get it. But a reboot might be interesting, though. A reboot could be kind of nice. the main problem was, apparently, if you were to believe the internet, they hated each other. They could not stand each other, according to the internet. I don't know either one of these guys, so it is what it is. But they hated each other. Superstar egos, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. But there was much beef between these dudes. And I think that, like, Joel Silver was on this side of it, Tony Scott was on this side of it, and they had their own little, it was just bad. There was a lot of beef, and that is part of the reason why we never got more of The Last Boy Scout, which would have been amazing, and it is a damn shame. This movie is drama-filled, action-packed. Oh my God. I mean, the beginning of it is this, sets up the world, is this sequence with fucking Billy Blanks, who is of Tybo fame, but he was an actor also, and football field shenanigans, shoots, people get shot, dead, shot in the, it's crazy, it's insane, but it's so good, and then from that it's just a lot, there's a lot in this, there's a lot of like funny moments, serious moments, high drama moments, a lot of action, a lot of explosions. You'll see a lot of actors in this. It's like, I know that guy from something. I don't know what it is, but he's from something though. I can recognize him. There's a lot of that in here, and I mean, I love that my girl Danielle Harris. Danielle Harris is in this. Danielle Harris, first of all, she's awesome. She's funny. She's more powerful. She was more powerful of a child actor than she should have been. She was the go-to kid in like the 90s for movies. She did a voice in the Wild Thornberrys, but like, she's in a whole bunch of the Halloween movies. She's in the OG Halloween movies, and then she's in the Rob Zombie reboots of the Halloween movies. And she was in the original Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I mean, but The Last Boy Scout is an amazing film. It's so much fun. It's so good, and you can watch it over and over, and it ages well. I think it ages well. I mean, obviously, I saw it in the theater with my dad a long time ago when it first came out, but I mean, even still watching it now, it's you get wrapped into it. And this is good Damon Wayans. You know what I mean? Like, Damon Wayans has his moments where he does not good roles. This is not one of them. This is a good role. But you know what? Hudson Hawk is dope too. Danny Aiello, may he rest in peace. We just lost Danny Aiello not so long ago. Danny Aiello and Andy McDowell. See, now I want to go watch that. I need to go watch Hudson Hawk because that movie was fun. It's like, there's a string of movies that like Bruce Willis did in like that period. That period before, like right when he blew, up until right when I think he got over it, and maybe people started wanting him to be Bruce Willis, act like Bruce Willis. I could imagine he got that note. But it's somewhere between the early films and like maybe Sixth Sense. It's like the tail end of it, Unbreakable, up in the Shyamalan-ish. But he had a whole like Bonfire of the Vanities. Have you seen Bonfire of the Vanities? Oh my God. It's amazing. Like a Tom Hanks movie, right? It's like, he's not even like the main dude. He's just like, he's the audience's POV moving through that world. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot of dope Bruce Willis movies that like are not just him having to be that guy. I feel like, and this is almost that guy. It's almost some John McClane-ish. Almost some John, but it's not. It's different than John McClane. It's a different John McClane. I know he looks gruff and he looks tough and he looks ready to take care of business, but it's not John McClane. And I feel like he got thrown into a lot of John McClane-ish kind of roles, and I don't know if that worked for him or not. Whatever. And then Damon Wayans, like I said, Damon Wayans was amazing. Halle Berry's in it for a short glimpse. This is early Halle Berry. This is Strictly Business, Halle Berry. This is like that era, and I mean, she's fine. She's all right. This is before she became what she became. It's before she really hit her fucking stride. Whatever. I could ramble forever. Go come watch The Last Boy Scout. Love that bitch. Coming to you live from Los Angeles. Bam, bam. All right, guys, enjoy.
That's cool, man. Do you want to cut to the next one?
As we've got Vernon Reid on the show, and Living Colour is my favourite band of all time, I thought we'd give you a tiny little bit of a idiot's guide to Living Colour's music. So, first off, we'll start off with the awesomely celebrated debut, Vivid!
Vivid! It's so good! It's so good! Guess what track number 1 is?
Is it Cult of Personality?
It's got Middleman. It's got Open Letter to a Landlord, which is one of my favourite songs of all time. It's got Funny Vibe. It's got the cover of Talking Heads' classic Memories Can Wait. It's got Broken Hearts, beautiful.
With Mick Jagger on the
harmonica.
Yeah.
Glamour Boys, You're Fierce. Amazing. This is probably one of the greatest albums ever made of all time.
Then they followed that up with Time's Up, which is a hugely broad-reaching, ambitious record. Again, loads of real awesome songs on there. There's Pride, not to be confused with the U2 version.
Elvis is Dead. That's on there.
Tight.
I've got the solace of you.
Yes, awesome, which you sent to your mum the
Sent
other
that
day.
to my mum and she loved it. And she'd never heard of Living Colour before. And I was like, you're mad, woman, mad, listen to this. And she was like, this is amazing. So there you go, Solace of You, song for mums.
Also, awesome album tracks like Undercover of Darkness featuring Queen Latifah. Yeah, This Is the Life, which is absolutely awesome. Really great song, which, everybody should hear. Really good lyric in that one as well. Then they put out Biscuits EP, won't go on that too long because it's just a short one, but it has awesome covers by various artists. Talking Loud Saying Nothing by James Brown, Burning of the Midnight Lamp by Jimi Hendrix, Love and Happiness by Al Green, a live version of the Memories Can't Wait by Talking Heads, and then on the extended version, even the Should I Stay or Should I Go by The Clash. Also the wonderful track Money Talks, and that's a real gem. Pick that out if you can. Muzz Skillings left the band then and was replaced by bass virtuoso Doug Wimbish, who is just the most amazing thing you've ever seen on a bass. This is Stain. This is the album that really, really heavily got me into them. It's heavy, it's really brilliant and dark and got great playing on it. And I can't recommend it enough. Check out that awesome red cover as well. It's got Leave It Alone by Auslander, Postman, This Little Pig, Nothingness, Wall with the amazing bass intros.
Ignorance is Bliss.
Yeah, so many, just no end of stuff. Go Away, not you, it's on that album.
Yeah.
Then they split up for a little while. There is a Pride Greatest Hits, which I don't have to hand. That has a couple of awesome tracks: Release the Pressure, Sacred Ground, Visions, and These Are Happy Times, all of which I rank among my favourite Living Colour songs. So check that out, and also might be a good place to start if you just want to grab some hits. Then when they reformed after many, many solo projects, they put together Kaleidoscope, which is an awesome record, very broad-reaching, much like Time's Up, and that has amazing stuff like Flying. I really love Nightmare City, their cover of Back in Black, AC/DC's, and they also cover Tomorrow Never Knows by the Beatles on that as well. I love Great Expectations, and that's again great. Wicked album, which they then followed up with Chair in the Doorway, which is awesome, super heavy.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's got my favourite Living Colour song, well, one of my favourites, Behind the Sun is on here.
Yep, that's great. It's loads of great stuff in there, Decadence and Method, and tons of and some really nice mellow vibes later on with things like Not Tomorrow. So, and then most recently is Shade, which they did just only a matter of years ago, 2017, although it feels more recent than that. So this is a great album, quite compact ideas, quite like bringing the blues forward to nowadays with a lot of focus on what was, hopefully won't forever be going on politically in the world. Great stuff, Freedom of Expression, Preaching Blues, Come On Program, Who Shot You, the Biggie cover. I love Pattern in Time and Glass Teeth, the two of my favourite Living Colour songs. Great version of Inner City Blues on there, and the wonderful Two Sides, which closes out the album, a Funkadelic-esque number with George Clinton vocalising on it as well. Yeah, that's really, really superb. They also put out the Who Shot Your EP alongside that, which has loads of great remixes featuring loads of way too many rappers to even start listening and mentioning. But also had a great track called Regrets and a cover of This Place Hotel, which is worth hunting down. All of this stuff is streamable. Go and dig into some Living Colour. If you like great drums, great bass, great guitar, and super, super great vocals topping it all off, they're your band. What's your favourite colour, Grace?
Living Colour. But it's green. And now with a musical interlude, we've got Noni Renee again, singing a little ditty.
Yeah, she was really popular on last week's show, so we were asked for some more, so here you go. Here's some more Noni Renee. Take it away, Noni Renee.
This one, because it's fun. Oh. There we go. Looking back at my life, I've always tried to do what I thought was right. I've made mistakes I can't lie. I've eaten my fair share of humble pie. I'm still learning to let go, but I'm way better at it than I was before. I can see where I've grown, and it feels good to know that for a long time I felt this heavy weight on my shoulders, and I was afraid I'd carry the burden as I got older. But with each trial there came a little ease, a sense of peace, oh the irony. I'm repelling negativity, so when you come into me, I don't want nothing but good vibes, and good times. I don't want nothing but good vibes, and good times. I'll leave that right there.
Good stuff. Well done, Noni. Right. I feel
Awesome.
like I know a lot about Living Colour, but I want to know a bit
You're
more
prepped.
about our guest, Vernon Reid, the guitarist of said band. So
Awesome.
how can I find this out?
Well, obviously Wikipedia would be a good way. He's done way too much music for any one human to listen to all at once. I've tried to collect most of it. It's amazing. He's on guests on many brilliant records. But with regard to his solo albums, here comes EJ Gunk from Oxford, our regular, and he's going to tell you all about these awesome gems, Vernon Reid solo albums.
Hi, I'm EJ Gunk, and I'm here to bring you 3 Vernon Reid solo releases that you should get, or at least listen to. Vernon Reid and Mask, and the first one is called Mistaken Identity, which got me hooked. The first track opens with an alarm clock, and it's called CP Time, and it has the sample of Morris Day saying, "What time is it?" And it also has a rap from Beans from the Anti-Pop Consortium. This riff also reminds me of something like Crosstown Traffic. It's really infectious and will have you humming it after you listen to it for hours after. The whole album is really good, and you can tell there's principal production all over it because there's very much more of a hip-hop influence with some raps and some samples and some skits. One of those funny skits is the one with Lawrence Fishburne doing an Indian accent over a background of Indian instruments, and he's talking about guidelines on how to use karma. Another one is Mistaken Identity. The title track, I Thought It Was Me, You Thought It Was Me, which is really catchy. And as well as this, there's tracks that really are aptly titled, like Freshwater Coconut, which is as refreshing as it sounds. It's got Caribbean influence, perfect for the summertime. As well as that, there's Uptown Drifter, which is also like a summertime tune, very mysterious sounding, makes you want to go exploring, walking places. And it's got a very adventurous feel to it. Overall, the whole album is great. Another track that stands out for me is Saint Cobain, which is more of a hard rock, but also has lots of sampling and scratching. I can't recommend this album enough. The second album is 2004's No No No. This is more of a band album feel, and it's really still very diverse. There's tracks that do exactly what they say on the tin. They're all really well titled because they have that kind of feeling. Like Sidewinder, which is very smooth and groovy, or The Slouch, which is a little bit more stompy and potentially even more angry. There's also a reggae, Flatbush Church. This album, yeah, it's really good, and Voodoo Pimp Stroll is my favourite one, which calls to mind blaxploitation 70s style sounds. Yeah, I really recommend this album. The third and final album I wish to review is Vernon Reid and Mask's Other True Self, which is from 2006. It has two famous covers, which is one by Radiohead called National Anthem and Depeche Mode's Enjoy the Silence. As well as this, there's the reggae-tinged Flatbush Church Revisited, which is a different version of the Flatbush Church, which is on the previous album, Known Unknown. As well as this, there's many catchy tunes, including a beautiful melody of Wildlife, which is a really good one. I really highly recommend this album as well. So there are 3 albums that you can go and check out when you have the time, and we should have more time than we usually have being on lockdown. They're perfect for sitting at home and doing something like in the bath, or while you're washing up, or whatever you do, or you can go out and explore places like I'm going to do with my friend here. See you later!
Awesome. Thanks very much, EJ Gunk. Do you feel informed?
I feel very informed, but I don't feel very chilled.
Oh, no, really?
No.
Oh, well, let's chill out with
Fongdeezy.
Fongdeezy. Thanks, Fongdeezy. He just keeps on delivering, doesn't
So I'm
he?
chilling.
Hey, yo, Grace.
Yeah?
I saw Vernon Reid the other day.
Get out of here!
Sometimes I feel like my mind will
So thank you very much, Vernon Reid. Let's start at the beginning. You were born in London.
I was
Yeah.
born in St. Mary's in Paddington, and I've often said that if I ever do write a book, the first line is going to be, "I was born in the hospital where Hendrix died."
Oh, amazing! Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, wow.
Which is just a weird factoid.
Yeah,
It's kind of like a real life episode of Lost, because I mean it's a very strange thing. A lot of what has influenced my work is a question of identity and identifying.
right.
Because I was born in the UK to Caribbean parents.
Sure.
Just like there was a great migration in the American South, there was a great migration at the end of World War II.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, throughout all the diasporic countries, the West Indies, Nigeria, all different parts of Africa that were under the British colonial rule.
Yes.
And Britain was also had to be rebuilt after the Blitz, England was still being rebuilt into the 50s.
Right,
It was a long ongoing construction project. So
it became somewhat of a land of opportunity for your
absolutely.
parents,
So people
right?
came from India, from Pakistan, as certainly after separation. I mean, and a lot of the fallout like we're still dealing, and we will be dealing with the fallout of all these migrations.
Sure.
It's almost like a parallel thing to look at what happened with African Americans. You know, the ones that
Right.
went to Chicago, they went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, they went to New York.
Yeah.
You know, like the West Indians, they went all over the place.
Yeah.
And they, you know, from the English-speaking Caribbean, they went to Canada. You know, they went, you know, of course, I have relatives still in London and in
Right.
England. So, you know, a lot of what's motivated my work over the years is questions of identity, but not just simple questions of black and white, but also, you know, like I identify as it's a complicated hyphen. I'm an African, Caribbean, American, but at the same time, you know, I was raised in a household that was very open to American culture. Open, you know, they're open. My parents were very young when they married and when they had me, so they were listening to James Brown and the Temptations, and at the same time, I remember as a child, they were very excited when the Beatles came on the Ed Sullivan Show. You know, my mother was a fan of like the Dave Clark Five, if you will.
Right.
So,
Sure.
So it was a real fusion of hearing all this music, and I wasn't burdened with being told like this music, you shouldn't listen to this music, that music is white music. That they didn't say those things. It was fascinating as a child, because I was a really young child, to see the band that started out, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and to hear Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds was a kind of mind-blowing experience, because to go from Michelle to Helter Skelter, like how does that even
of course I mean, I when I've done quite, actually I'm wearing a This Is All of George's Guitars on a t-shirt, so which my mum actually made that t-shirt, but because she's a massive George fan, but
my personal favorite Beatle. The Beatles had such a seismic impact on the world of popular music. I mean, I understand why subsequent generations, there's a kind of Beatle backlash, because the boomers, like the Beatles, were a boomer band. Like the Stones, it's funny, they're these tribal battle lines, and they're you know what I mean? Because they're the Beatles people, and they're the Stones people, and they're the Who people, and then they're the Motown people, they're the Hendrix people, and they're all these different. And of course, inside of all that, there are people that dig everything. I understand the passion, and people also, the Beatles. There's a separate thing about the Beatles, because the Beatles were kind of shoved down everyone's throat.
Yeah.
At a certain point, when the Beatles, when they literally said we're bigger than Jesus, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Beatles, and there's a kind of Beatles industrial complex, and the Beatles industrial complex can force people to be deeply ambivalent.
So then those early records that you're growing up on, what was the thing?
I was growing up on all these different records. There were Stax records, or Motown records, or Philly International records. There were the early rock and roll. I started to hear rock and roll on the radio, early rock and roll. Like I started hearing Chuck Berry and Fats Domino, and very importantly, Little Richard on the radio. Now, we just lost Little Richard.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And it's kind of this amazing thing. I feel very fortunate, incredibly fortunate in my life and in my career to have come across a lot of the people that I looked up to. A lot of my heroes, I've had interactions and I've come to know them very well. Yeah. And it's a very humbling, and it's an incredible, I stop and think about the fact that, you know, I wrote a song called Elvis is Dead, which featured. Yeah. The thing about Little Richard, when his records came on, they talked about completely anarchic, crazy situations. Yeah. And there was nothing. Now, our people made the argument that there was Esquilita before him. He was the person that did Woo the first time. Right. And that also Sister Rosetta Tharpe discovered Little Richard, So
Sure.
he got a lot from Sister Rosetta Tharpe. And that all that's true. And I could also say the Amos Milburn and Louis Jordan. I mean, there are a bunch of artists and people say Cat Calloway. So there are all of these precedents. But the thing about it is Little Richard put it together in a way that was seamless. And like Long Tall Sally is like, it's this crazy song because it's about a kid really looking at the sexual, picadillos of his uncle. I saw Uncle John with bald head Sally. He saw Mary coming and he ducked back in the alley.
Yeah.
First of all, you're stuck on
Scandalous,
bald head Sally.
scandalous behavior going on. Yeah.
And it's so much, and it's still this incredible, like it's a cinematic. It's about the messiness and the insanity of adult relations. One of the greatest lyrical flips, and it's very poignant. It's incredibly poignant. Is Don McLean, who did American Pie. Well, my favorite song of Don McLean's is Vincent, which is a song he did, the ballad he did about Vincent van Gogh. And it's this incredible song about, about how this painter has this vision and he has all this compassion, and he says, now I think I know what you tried to say to me, how you suffer your sanity, how you tried to set them free. They did not listen. They did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now. They didn't get you. Like here's a person who sees the paintings and he goes, man, you know what? They just don't know.
Yeah.
And the last line of that song is devastating. You know what I mean? They didn't listen. They did not. No, they don't listen. They're not listening still. Perhaps they never will.
Oh,
and
right.
So such a devastating.
Yeah.
And that's real. You know that Van Gogh, his hometown, he's a Dutch, he's from Holland. His hometown didn't erect a statue to him until like deep into the 20th century. Like he was just considered a freaking weirdo. You know what I mean? And
sure.
He became famous, and it's almost kind of embarrassing that that it became celebrated. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And then people when they become embarrassed, sometimes people will just double down. Like the doubling down is because we hate to be wrong, we hate to be humbled, we hate to be told, you don't really know nothing about that. And a lot of people, they don't want to be. I mean, embarrassment has led to all kind of catastrophes. The fear of embarrassment.
Yes, sure, yeah.
So, and we're seeing these things play out on an international scale. We see them play out on an international scale. Like, very few people will humbly say, people will turn around and they'll come back and apologize for some shit that happened decades ago. They say that people would rather die than do public speaking. Yeah. Well, yeah, but I think people would also rather die than admit they're wrong. And that's why, relationships, breakups are horrible. Yeah, sure. One of the reasons why parent and child relationships go down the crapper is, like that chick, you're not going to get the apology from your mom. She's not going to give it to you. It's almost like you want to go to the bar and say, all that what you're carrying on with, listen, let me tell you something. Your pops is not going to give you the dap. He can't do it. He's not going to give you the dap because he can't do it. You went against his wishes and you became successful. You expect him to turn around and say I was wrong? Right. He'll take credit. He'll take credit for your success. And so on and so forth. And that's played out. And then because people can't deal with these internal things, they externalize it and then they gotta attack people and
And that's how you end up with people not admitting they're wrong on a world scale anyway. Do you know what I mean? It like plays out.
The people behind the people behind the triggers and the buttons are people. I mean, we can't also discount just out and out psychopathy. Like not all brains.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and sociopathic.
Sociopath. I mean, and we've been very slow to acknowledge the fact that certain kinds of psychopathy exist among people, and as opposed to throwing up hands and going, well, they're crazy and they're evil, is basically working with it. How do you work with it? What kind of structure? A lot of time, everyone can be redirected, and everyone, their talents can be utilized. But the thing is that people don't want people. It's too much work.
Yeah. Much better if you can file people into a little factory process. Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the great tragedies of life. I've seen the situation where a family I know of, and they became close friends, had the resources to deal with a problem child. And that same child, in a poor circumstance, the child was warehoused, that child was put in jail.
Right,
Now, I've been friends with this family for a number of years, and I've seen how the child, after it put the family through hell, but on the other side of it, the child is doing great things.
Right.
So I see that, and I go, that child in a different circumstance
would be a classic story of something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is out of control, out of pocket.
It's incredible to me that I lived in Los Angeles just around the time of Prince's Graffiti Bridge, but I would say was just about when Type probably was around as well. And obviously I was living in LA, and that was like quite a tense situation pre Rodney King and everything. Absolutely. And now we live 30 years later, and I don't know how it is for you guys there, but from the outside from here, it looks like nowhere near enough has changed, really.
Well, because nowhere near enough has changed because on the flip side, you're talking about dismantling a way of life. Like, if you're going to dismantle institutional racism, and you're going to do things. This is part of the reason why the 60s, certain movements in culture are so threatening. People like a Jimi Hendrix, music like hip hop, things like that, are in the folk music talks about freedom as opposed to liberty, because liberty, freedom, and democracy are three different things. Right, and they're three things that are kind of
chucked in as if they're the same.
As if they're the same thing. And they're absolutely not the same thing.
Yeah.
So rock and roll was absolutely, I mean, are you kidding me? Right? I mean, rock and roll was denounced, and then the boomers turned around and denounced disco, and rock and roll did the same sort of things. They brought people that were not supposed to be together and put them together. You know what I'm saying? And that's when James Brown says, the long-haired hippies and the Afro blacks all get together across the tracks and they party. This is something that, the overlords,
they would
the
not
overlords of industry, they can't stand it unless they can figure a way to co-opt
to make a lot of money out of it.
Because that's the other thing, right? Because that which can't be destroyed comes into the fold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and these kind of things happen all the time. But anyway, these things. So you mentioned Prince, and it's funny because I think about Prince and Michael Jackson in a particular way because we were all born in 1958.
Right.
And so when I process culture and I listen to their records, like when I hear I want to be starting something, I know for a fact you heard Manu. I know Michael heard Manu Dibango when I heard Manu Dibango.
Yeah, right.
I heard Soul Makossa when I heard Soul Makossa.
Yeah.
Right? So and Manu Dibango, one of the world's great musicians, one of Africa's great musicians, we just lost him to COVID-19. So it's this pandemic and culture, it's like a wrecking ball, like a certain generation of people are being, and it's devastating. It's really devastating to hear that the Marcellus family has lost its patriarch. It's really devastating that Wallace Roney is not with us. You know what I mean? And Wallace Roney sat in with us when we played Elvis is Dead at the Brooklyn Bowl. So it's devastating because our first sound person, Judy Marinas,
recently,
Judy Marinas just recently, and she forecast to do a standstill, and then COVID-19 took her out. And the funny thing about that is Judy Marinas was a real trailblazer. A real trailblazing woman. She is an incredible sound person. Right. And she put up with the slings and arrows. Let me tell you.
I can imagine back in that day.
the eye rolling and the nonsense and the, I mean, it's been a problem and been an issue, and it's been 75 cents on the dollar for a long ass time. We're in the 21st century right now.
I know.
We're in it.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's incredible.
It's incredible. And this year is a freaking week. On the other side of it.
I was casting my mind back to earlier, the Time Tunnel video where you're on tour with the Stones. Mm-hmm. And you get the bird flipped to you by like a few kind of.
That was in Alabama. This guy just was the whole show. And
how you took it was really quite hard. You took it like super hard. And I thought that was really brave. I wonder whether that like in some way has stood you in good stead for your soul and for your heart and everything and for your longevity, but also maybe compromised your band career as Living Colour.
Oh, sure. The thing is, we were pegged as a political band, and part of the thing is that politics was just a part. Politics and social things were a part of what we talked about. We talked about all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
We talked about relationships almost as much as we talked about, we talked about things. It was never about, we have to have I never thought of it about messages.
Broken Hearts is a straight up end of love song.
Absolutely.
Kind of I guess things become socio-political a bit later on, like Undercover of Darkness is I guess kind of socio-political in a sense because
it's about the politics of sex. Well, it's about, it's about also concealment, like one of the deepest things was bringing in the song Bye. Like Bye, when we were doing Stain, I was really nervous that the dudes would be like, nah, man.
You know what? That stands out so much, though, You stand out from the crowd so much because you have that. So you start picking up guitar, and, like, did you just play for, like, ages and ages and ages to like learn everything, and then because you came to kind of attention in the Ronald Shannon Jackson Decoding Society, which is all, for anybody who doesn't know, is free jazz, lots of improvised, crazy, all over the stuff.
Yeah.
Where's the gap between when you pick up a guitar and when you're suddenly in that, and how much?
I mean, it started. I picked up the guitar late for a kid. I picked up guitar when I was in high school. Right. I mean, basically a freshman in high school, and I struggled with it, and then I met a group of people, the way you meet people in high school, who changed my life. And one of those people is this piano player named Raymond Jones, and Raymond Jones. We met in the back history class, and we became fast friends. A very funny dude, and he had been playing piano since he was a kid. And a lot of stuff happened. I met a lot of cool people. There was a great teacher, did an after-school jazz program. I got exposed to John Coltrane's music. I got exposed to Mungo Santa Maria. I got exposed to Thelonious Monk and Eric Dolphy. I got exposed to all these people.
Right.
And Ray, he transferred to another school, but we stayed really tight. And then there was a band. He joined this band called Chic.
Right.
And this is like so I'm compressing high school and a lot of stuff. And also, there was a drummer named Reggie Sylvester who turned me on to Jack Bruce. He turned me on to like all the Jack Bruce stuff and Cream things, and turned me on to I started listening to the Mahavishnu Orchestra when I started listening to Miles Davis. There was a kid in my school named Miles Davis. We used to have a battle of the bands. He brought this young guitar player named Arthur Rames, who was effing mind-blowing. Right. And all this input, all this stuff happened. And then my friend Raymond got this gig playing with this band Chic, and all of a sudden I was at the Beacon Theater and I saw my friend who I went to high school with.
Yeah.
It was just a kind of mind-blowing
bolt from the blue. And
it's one of these bolt from the, and it was like this is a possible thing.
Yeah, that you can do.
You know what I mean? It was not to see, to believe in a thing is one thing, but to see one of your mates
Actually doing it, yeah.
actually do one of, you're like freaking 18. Are you kidding me? If you can get into a scene, I mean, I can only talk about the ecology of New York at that time. There was a ton of clubs to play.
Yeah.
Gigs were hard to get, but if you could get in, then you might be seen by people, and things led to another thing. I mean, I'm skipping over. It's like playing downtown. Like this whole thing, I was trying to play in an R&B band. I got fired. My good friend Melvin Gibbs, I started this little fusion band. He was the bass player in that band.
Yeah.
He said, "Man,
I'm
you
a
got
big Rollins. I'm a big Rollins guy.
Yeah,
so I know
right.
all
He
about
played with
Melvin
Rollins.
Gibbs. Yeah.
Well, he was the bass player in the Decoding Society. He turned to me, "Man, you got to see this guy I'm working with." I was captivated. Blah 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 blah. I went to Europe for the first time, and then my life started to change, and I started meeting people, and one thing led to another thing, and it's. But all I could say is, at a certain point, I started playing at CBGB's, and Hilly Crystal heard the early band, and he dug it, and like two of the guys that managed Shannon turned around and wanted to manage me, and so there was like a whole scenario. It's like a bunch of
dominoes. Yeah.
It's like a bunch of dominoes and a bunch of things. And here's the thing: everything, any story, is about all stories in the sense that everything has to align. Like if you separate, like people try to say, like a guitar, like they try to, the pickups are the tone. Actually, everything is the tone of the guitar.
Sure, the wood.
Everything is the tone of the guitar, and whether or not you have fat, meaty hands, or whether you have really skinny fingers, whether you like to play with a thin pickup, everything adds to the tone. So every part of it, you play with your thumb. You prefer playing with your thumb? That's like if Wes Montgomery played with a pick, he would be, he would still be great.
Yeah.
Meeting all kind of great people, hearing all kind of great people, becoming frustrated with the industry, getting together with my friends, starting this thing, the Black Rock Coalition.
I was going to say about that. So obviously that happened. That's 83, am I right?
That's 85. That's
85. Sorry.
But I'd already been playing with Defunct. I'd been playing, I'd already been traveling.
Yeah.
With Decoding Society and whatnot like that. So my career had started to happen like that.
Why did you pull across to doing, obviously Living Colours, called Living Colours straight rock music is such a ridiculous thing, but like by comparison with what you were doing in these crazy freeform, etc., what drew you to doing rock and roll was,
well, the thing is, rock and roll was at the bottom of everything, was in my mind at all times. Rock and roll music, even with my becoming a lover of jazz, even with my becoming, funk, forget about it. I came up in funk, right?
Yeah.
I was exposed to calypso and Caribbean music in the beginnings of reggae. Sure, all of these things, but rock and roll music, hearing Long Tall Sally, hearing Sunshine of Your Love, hearing
that's what got your
Purple Haze
going in the first place.
Hearing Purple Haze, those things, and I was a little kid, those things imprinted on me early on. So and picking up the instrument and then hearing Black Magic Woman, then hearing, the Band of Gypsies record destroyed my mind. The Band of Gypsies utterly destroyed my mind. And so, and then becoming exposed to things like Starless and Bible Black and, getting exposed to Fripp and Crimson, all these things, and then the Intermounting Flame, Ma Vishnu, all of these things in the back of my mind, rock and roll was still a thing. So when I left Shannon, when I left Decoding Society, I started with the instrumental things, and it gradually became rock and roll.
Was there ever a thing that Living Colour might have just had some white dude on bass, or was it always like, no, we're going to do I
didn't think about it programmatically. I didn't think about it that way. It didn't, we're going to have an all black band. I will say, when the Bus Boys came out, and they're Black and Latino band, I thought their first record was great. I thought that, There Goes the Neighborhood was absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And then they started to walk it back. By the time they did American Worker, they started to kind of walk who they were back. Anyway, man, I just met these people. I met Corey Glover at a birthday party. My sister insisted I go with her to this party, and I heard him sing. And, you know, Original Living Color had 2 different guys in it. And I reached out to a drummer named Zach Alford. And Zach Alford, you know, he played with the B-52s. He played with Bob Dylan.
That's right.
He did a bunch of cool things. And in fact, he had just gotten the gig with the 52s. And you know, and I'd seen him play with different bands downtown. And I was like, yo, man, would you be down to do blah, blah, blah? He said, yo, man, I can't do it. The original drummer, who I won't, you know, get into that, but he had split. Well, the original drummer had split a while back.
Mm-hmm.
And I have love for all of the people that have been in the band.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So what happened was I asked Zach, he said, yo, man, you should call my friend Will Calhoun. I can't do it because I just got this. So I called Will, and I think we had met previously at the Bottom Line, and then, you know, and then I sent him a tape. He dug it. You know, we got together. He came over to my loft in Bushwick. Corey had already been in the band, and my friend Bill Toast was looking for a bass player. Different bass players had played in the group. Yeah. And then he said, yo, you should check out my friend Muzz. Turns out that Muzz and I we didn't know each other, but we went to the same high school. Then it came together. We played our first gig. And then from that point on, the chemistry of it just kind of kept rolling. Yeah. And anyway, you know what I mean? There's a lot. I got to skip a lot of detail, but
of course.
It's, you know, it was a lot of people were part of it. You know, a lot of people, you know, a lot of people were part of it. There was obviously, you know, Jim Grant, Roger Kramer, the original managers. There was this lady, Margot Core, who really helped with shopping our tapes to different, you know, to different A&R people, whatever. Then Mike Kaplan really was really into it from Sony. Blah blah blah. Woof, woof, and all these different things. Again, everything has to work. It happened that Mick Jagger was in town.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Yeah, that's right, because you went for a session like to try and get a job as
there was like an open cattle call, so everybody came and Doug Wimbish, who I'd become friendly with because
played on that album,
and he played he played previously with him, you know, he played on that record, but he played on different tracks, and anyway, all these things happened, and he knew about my band. There was a few other people. They all said, hey, man, you should check out this guy, Vernon Reid. You should check out his band. And you know, my audition was terrible. But Mick said, hey, man, I heard your band is really interesting. I want to come check it out. And, you know, he came, and Judy was mixing that show. And it's all very, you know, poignant.
All the aligning of the planets. You know,
so all of these different things happen. And all I can tell you is, you know, life is weird. Life is weird. The universe is not only stranger than we know, it's stranger than we can know. I don't know if that's Richard Feynman said. Yeah, but it's like, how did these things happen? They shouldn't happen. Like, you know, I was a dude like other dudes.
Like, also, this really is a weird mystery to me. So obviously it gets huge. You do Time's Up, obviously, which is amazing, and we're skirting over in a really criminal way. Love Reid's Ugly Head is obviously this tune. That's my doorway into the band.
Interestingly enough, Love Rears Its Ugly Head and Broken Hearts are about the same woman, but they were released opposite. Yeah, so they were released in reverse order. I wrote Love Rears Its Ugly Head when I was falling in love with her.
Yeah.
But that song.
And the end of the story is Broken Hearts.
And so the end of the story wound up on the first record.
Yeah.
And then the start of the story wound up being on the second record.
What happened with, like, not wanting to pry or bring up any nasty stuff or whatever, but what happened with Muzz then?
We did a lot in a short period of time.
It's really intense.
And it was very intense. And certain relationships started to fray.
Right.
And relationships start to fray, and honestly, the way it all went down, young guys, like young marriage, like a young, you know what I mean, hot-headed,
Sure.
cats thinking we had our thoughts,
Sure.
and that was a rupture, and then we regrouped with Doug, and Doug is
Yeah.
amazing. Doug is one of the great soundscape builders of bass. I mean, there's no one that plays like him, and he creates. If you listen to like a song like Wall, he
Yeah.
creates this incredible.
So much.
And one of the things that's happening, interestingly, on really Stain and Chair and Doorway, Kaleidoscope, and Shade, there's this incredible interplay of sounds between myself and Doug,
Yeah.
and Doug's groove with Will, and all of these things, how
Yeah.
Corey and I interact,
Yeah.
and it's this kind of thing that's kind of swirling and moving around.
Well, that's part
pretty-
of that. Obviously, Will and Doug ended up becoming kind of, like quite inseparable.
Head fake.
Sorry, what did you say?
Head fake. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So they ended up doing that, obviously, and then that kind of came round. So the way that fans perceived it, I guess, is that it was at a head fake gig that then Corey was doing something. Had you done a Yohimbe Brothers?
Yeah,
had Corey on it?
I started with the Yohimbe Brothers. Yohimbe Brothers, and in between I've been doing Mask. I mean,
well, how was that?
we come back together like in 2000, and I think it's 2001. We started to play shows again, but also I started working on soundtrack music. I did the music for Paid in Full.
Yeah, Fresh Kill, and
Fresh Kills.
Yeah.
I started doing things like Ghost Sabatica.
Yeah, and you've been doing some stuff with silent films, like doing live soundtracks.
I did it. Yeah, because John Schaefer he commissioned me to do live silent film, and so there's like a whole other history of people like Leon, the great keyboardist and inventor Leon Gruenbaum, and Sam Chillin.
Sam Chillin, Tip Chipiwara, yes.
Right, it's like
I've seen it live. I came to see you at the Jazz Cafe doing Mistaken Identity stuff.
Oh
and
my God, with Don Byron.
Yes, yeah, and Beans was there.
Was Beans in the comfy chair?
Yes, that's right.
I give a lot of credit to Mike Kaplan. Mike. We were talking about what to do. Living Color was on hiatus or whatever, and I said, man, I want to make this record. I've been living. It's a longer story that we don't have time for, but I was living in Manhattan, and I had this kind of loft apartment, and it had become like this crazy way station for musicians, and just doing like all this kind of wild stuff, and it evolved into doing these shows at the Cooler, doing things at the Knitting Factory.
Yeah.
And originally I did these sessions. I did a bunch of sessions with Fred Hopkins, and James Carter.
Right.
Graham Haynes playing cornet. It was like this.
Yeah.
And also the beginnings of this whole underground, like with Priest and Beans. And like this whole coterie of young underground, for real, some of the kind of underground post backpacker kids that were running around. What I mean? And so like it was coming together with all of these different characters, and that eventually became Mistaken Identity. Mistaken Identity, and I was able to. Sekou Sundiata appears on Mistaken Identity. My friend Lawrence Fishburne.
Does important safety
instructions. And that record was just it's been an incredible ride. It's still an incredible ride. I mean, it's been really, really fun. And this whole thing, I mean, we'd have to jump a bunch of sharks. Here we are in this crazy quarantine. I'm here in the Dharma Lab doing some collaborations with folks, and it's kind of exciting.
So are you kind of putting together another Vernon Reid like solo album?
Absolutely, they're definitely doing that. All of these different experiences, all the way these things come together, man. It's very, I feel very, very fortunate. Like the band has really had two different lives, right? There's the first three records in the late 80s and in the 90s.
Right.
And then there's these records in the aughts. And these records are a re-evolution. Like we had to learn to become a band again. And then when we talk about Shade, I mean, Shade is very much like, well, what do the blues mean? What is the blues and metal? Blues and metal have had a kind of a weird separation and try to bring back those bots.
Yes, those elements.
So that's kind of the thing. We actually recorded did a video for we recorded a bunch of different things, recorded a bunch of covers, and we're going to soon. There's going to be a video. Well, I'm not going to really get more into it, but it's a classic tune. But it's specifically for the age of the quarantine, and just look out for that.
Yeah, you guys fall in really nicely with like you go and do these rock boat things as well, where you're playing with like solid metal lineups, like proper no messing metal, and I love the way that you guys like you're still super heavy and still super kind of like. Is it important to you to we show up as the irascible uncles? You know, we show up as the you know. We're that part of the family that no one really likes to talk about, but they can't uninvite us, so there we are. You know, I doubt that's true. Like I find it incredible. Like Corey, like his voice, he manages to do things like still. I would almost. It's tempting to say that he's actually a better singer now.
Oh yeah.
Than,
no, I'll say it absolutely.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for spending the time. Wish you so much good luck for the future.
Thank you,
I'm so keen to hear solo stuff. So keen to hear Living Colour and anything else you got cooking up your sleeve.
And one last thing, something that I've been doing. I'm very active on Twitter. That's where we connect on Twitter. Yeah. I'm also very active on Instagram. And I have this project that I've got going on right now, a current project called Pandemic Postcards.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, amazing pictures. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And it's Vert. I'm Vert, VURNT22.
We'll stick everything up. We'll put all the links up. Everybody will be able to definitely.
Yeah, but that's something like basically, it started out as a kind of a lark, and now I'm determined to. I just went over. I do it partially with bicycles. With my bicycle, I've gone over the Brooklyn Bridge, the Manhattan Bridge, the Williamsburg Bridge, and the Queensboro Bridge on my bike. I don't strictly do it with the bicycle. I've also driven to places. I've done combinations where I put my bike in the back of my Subaru, and because the Verrazano doesn't have a bike path. I've gone to Coney Island, but I've done the boardwalk on my bicycle and things like that. And basically, I've come to the point where it's like I'm going to do at least the 5 boroughs at least once. And my last thing to do is to go to the Bronx and figure out where I'm going to shoot. But I'm very excited about it, and just trying to document the scenes in this weird.
Well, it becomes quite like obviously this started off as a relatively small idea. Let's just put together a little show where like it's got a load of people doing stuff at home, so that people who are bored at home have something to watch and be inspired to maybe do something. And then slowly it just blossoms out into this thing, and it becomes like the main thing that I'm doing. So I completely get that. It's become like it becomes a bit more like you're making time capsules in a strange way, and it's an important time really to kind of document.
It really is. This is a. I mean, I hope it's a once in a century situation. Good God.
One can only hope. Yeah.
Listen, man, be safe.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being part of my little time capsule. And thanks so much.
Take care of yourself. I'll see you back on campus.
Wicked. Take care, man.
was amazing.
Awesome, yeah, it was absolutely awesome. Thanks so much to Vernon for taking the time out. I'm so glad we got to chat. And yeah, just like there's going to be a huge long version of that put up on our YouTube soon. It's really worth it. It's about an hour and a half that he gave up of his time for us all. Thanks very much, but we obviously thought, you know, keep it compact for you. And yeah, well done to Grace for editing that. So yeah,
thank you.
so do check out Vernon Reid and Living Colour, and isn't that exciting news about the new stuff to come as well? So yeah, we should probably do some other bits. What you got?
I'm hungry.
Do you know what? I got the feeling that Vernon Reid was getting hungry towards the end of that. So if you haven't eaten yet, Vernon, here's Desert Storm with an amazing recipe for you. I'd stake my life on it. Cooking up a Desert Storm.
Hi, today I'm going to be making steak au poivre with chunky chips and tomato. Nice easy dish. I'm going to start off by searing the sirloin steak in some butter. Get that cooking for a bit, get a nice colour on it. If you've got a grill, you can char grill it as well. It's nice like that, but I haven't got one. I'm pan frying mine. Once I've got a nice colour on the other side, I'll finish it in the oven, and then after this I'm going to make the sauce in the same pan so you get all the meat juices in the same pan. So you just want to season the pan. Obviously steak au poivre is peppercorn sauce, doing quite a lot of cracked black pepper there. Salt and pepper on the top as well. Just want to finely dice some onions. And then you're going to sweat that onion in the same pan that we just seared the steak in. You want to get some peppercorns, cracked black pepper in there as well. Please, peppercorn sauce, but don't go crazy with it because you don't want it too strong. And then we're going to add some beef stock and some flamed brandy and finish it with some cream. So we're just about ready to add the brandy now. Once you've sweated the onions in the butter, the pepper, and that's the brandy. I'm just going to try and flame it. And then we'll add the beef stock. So now we're going to do Pommes Neuf, which is basically homemade chunky chips. Obviously if you've got a deep fat fryer that's ideal, but I haven't. So, yeah. So you want to sort of square off the potato. I've peeled it, kind of squared it off. And go in half. Like that. Neaten it up a bit. And then just go in half. Chunky chip. Do. So just gonna, once you've blanched off the chips, just want to fry them. Be careful if you're doing it like this, it can be dangerous. Get a nice colour on them and then you can finish them in the oven. The sauce, as you can see, is almost ready. I've got to just add some cream and then reduce it. Steak we're going to get in the oven shortly. It depends how long you want to eat it. I like mine medium rare, so about 8 minutes in the oven for that. We'll get the chips in first. Just going to do the tomatoes now, so I've just halved them. Bit of black pepper, some sea salt. Right, so the sauce is done now. Just reduce that, and that's thickened. Some people like to strain it, I'm not going to bother, but you can do if you don't want the peppercorns and the onion in there, but it is a peppercorn sauce. I'll serve up now. I've let my steak rest for a couple of minutes. There you go, there's the steak, Pommes Neuf and tomato. Not much more on there really. That's the au poivre sauce. Lovely job.
La cuisine c'est magnifique. Je voudrais une glace de absinthe s'il vous plaît.
I'm afraid I don't have one. But maybe these guys over here who we chatted to, in broken English admittedly, have a little bit to tell us about said absinthe. Do you fancy some absinthe? Hey, by the way, kids, you're not allowed to watch this bit. This is just for the adults.
L'absinthe, on peut la consommer de différentes façons. On ne peut pas parler d'absinthe sans la fontaine à absinthe. Après, on peut consommer l'absinthe en shooter, tout simplement. Et ça, c'est assez puissant et ça plaît parce que c'est un petit côté interdit. Après le rituel bohémien, on incorpore l'absinthe dans le sucre, enfin sur le sucre. On fait flamber le sucre et puis c'est un petit côté folklorique. On peut très bien avoir une carafe, mettre sa dose d'absinthe dans le verre et puis verser de l'eau fraîche. L'absinthe, ça amène une certaine fraîcheur, une légère amertume et c'est assez intéressant à travailler. Maintenant, il faut travailler l'absinthe avec une certaine précision parce que ça peut prendre beaucoup de place. Comme prévu, je vous ai réalisé le Baudelaire Sour que j'ai réalisé au shaker. Il se compose donc d'absinthe, assoupli avec l'amandine. Pour la force, j'ai utilisé du bourbon et il sera servi dans un verre à whisky sur glace. Pour le second, c'est un Van Gogh Martini, donc un cocktail très élégant, tout en puissance, une jolie force. Il se compose donc de vermouth à l'absinthe, de gin aromatisé au citron de la distillerie Domaine de Provence et un bitter aux extraits de plantes d'absinthe. Il se réalise par contre celui-là au verre à mélange, donc à la cuillère, et j'exprime à la fin un zeste de citron et il y a en décoration une anis étoilée, donc la badiane. Et puis le dernier que je vous propose, toujours avec l'absinthe, c'est le Watermelon Spritz, donc la pastèque, que j'ai écrasé dans ma tine de shaker. J'y ai mis un bitter italien, de l'absinthe, shaké et complété de beaux rosés. Et puis alors ma manière à moi de consommer l'absinthe, avec la fontaine à absinthe, je la décline, c'est un peu revu et corrigé. Dans la fontaine à absinthe, toujours de l'eau glacée, plein de glace, et je mets à l'intérieur de la fontaine quelques fines tranches de concombre, des agrumes en l'occurrence, du pamplemousse, des citrons verts, et des feuilles de menthe.
Quite fancy some of that.
Oui, merci beaucoup, Raoul.
Yeah, cheers, and check out Absinthe Absinthe online, and if you like such things. I certainly had a little time during college where I was very, very partial towards it. That wasn't even, it kind of extended throughout lots of the Smilex times as well, actually.
Nice drink to have during the sunny weather as well, especially with the water and ice.
Yeah, and it might, you might not even need to watch telly afterwards.
No.
Okay, that's about it for the show. Well, thank you so much to everybody who contributed. Yeah, awesome. We would not have a show without you, and we won't actually have a show after the next one. This is the penultimate show. We're going to stop the next one because the lockdown seems to have kind of been lifted enough that you guys won't really need us or be able to contribute that much to the show. Thanks so much. It's been great whilst it lasted. We're absolutely happy with everything.
Yeah.
Just spoke to Vernon Reid. It's fine.
We hope we don't come back because that would mean.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I mean, if we do come back, if we are all locked down, then obviously we will come back with a new show. In which case, I'll be on the phone to everybody going, yeah, send me bits. Like pretty soon. But thanks so much to everybody who contributed throughout all the shows anyway, and everybody who's watched and shared the show, because that's integral. And yeah, just cheers. And during these few moments that we have left, I'd like to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand. Here's Steve from Scaramanaga 6. Take it away, Steve. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Welcome to the never-ending intestinal tract you will come to call your vocation, where your conversations may be recorded for quality and training purposes. Those of you with a functioning brain must report to your supervisor immediately, whilst those of you within the vestigial remains are hereby promoted to supervisory status. We are the blind. We are the blind. And we're leading the blind. Anyone caught being helpful or engaging in anything remotely constructive will be escorted off the premises forthwith. Please show your stigmata to the security on the way out. Any queries regarding your statutory rights and benefits must be levied in person with subhuman resources on the 97th floor. We are the blind. We are the blind. We are the blind. And we're leading the blind. We are the dumb. We are the dead. We'll take your soul. We'll take what's left. You are the scum. You are the dead. We are your butter. We are your bread. They are in mine. We are the blind. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All work and no play. We are the dumb. We are the dead. You are the no. Don't waste your breath. You have no skill. You have no word. You're just a vessel. You're just a cell. And think you'll find that we are the blind. are your